it's 1 o'clock, and this has been a notice meeting of the RDC. I don't have an agenda because I think the purpose of the meeting is to look at the area around North Park for the purpose of a residential TIF. And just for the record, I had to get in touch with Luke Britt, with the public access counselor, because of the new rules. And since we weren't going to have a majority in person, we can't vote, but we can certainly take information and discuss because we did notice the meeting. So.
Sorry, Jeff, I meant to come in person, but I have a meeting that got backed up right to this one, so I'm not.
But that is fine, because even with you here, we would not have a majority in person, and therefore, and I don't think we contemplate any kind of vote or decision.
No, I don't. Yeah.
So I just want to put that on the record because somebody's going to ask me at some point in the future how we did this, and therefore I can just look at the beginning of the meeting and say, well, right there it is, because we had the new law for these things does not anticipate anything unusual. And this is kind of a different style of meeting than I think what they anticipate in the statute. So now that I have that out of the way, I will say thank you to Jackie Nestor for hosting it. And Jared Eichmiller is here from our surveyor's office, GIS division. And he's been at a few RDC meetings as well. So he's kind of the map guru. And I think this conversation is kind of based upon, Richard's here as well. This conversation will be based upon something we did at the, I want to say February Redevelopment Commission meeting. I didn't go back and look, where we looked at maps. And particularly, we looked at some of the undeveloped areas north of the current TIF district. And so we're trying to hone in on what we think would be something that could be benefited for being in a residential TIF district, and kind of get those mapped out. And then I think at the next RDC meeting, we'll talk about that, maybe make hopefully a final determination of what we want to look at. And then I think we really should go to maybe a plan commission pre-meeting. They've got several
meetings,
yeah, to kind of talk about it, because to create a new TIF, we do need plan commission's approval. So we want to get that board looking at it and getting some feedback from them as well.
Good.
So with that, I guess maybe we should put a map on.
I prepared just a short presentation to run through what we talked about, Jeff, earlier. We can maybe run through this and see if we have any questions, but I just wanted to be more informal and have you guys have some dialogue around this. So a few things that I thought we might go over is just the scope of what the residential TIF might cover. What are the priorities of the Redevelopment Commission? What are some of the potential development areas? And then I ran out of time, but I can pull up some comprehensive plans for this area. So my first question for the group is, do you have an idea of the type of housing that you're looking to encourage or incentivize in these areas?
Affordable.
What is your definition of affordable? What's the price range?
Well, I think that really is going to depend upon what the market is at the time we actually get to doing something here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we probably want a range of housing. I don't think there's going to be one style that's going to be affordable, because affordable means different things to different people.
It does. Okay.
Jackie, I think that instead of looking at price range, we should look at area median income and define it that way, because as the market changes, what happens with the price will change, and that area median income information is posted annually. So that can change without having to change anything in it. But, instead of saying it's going to be 150 to 275, we can say we're trying to target houses that meet people that are between 75% and 130% area median income. And then whatever that price range is for that income bracket, it just is. And we can calculate that based on HUD rates, HUD percentages on what we can do for housing. So I just think that's a little cleaner and it'll require less modification.
You also need to fit into that what percentage of that income they have, which is available for housing, which will be different for different people. For some families, that's going to be 50% of their income. For some, it's going to be 15% of their income.
Right. HUD's standard is 30%, and that includes their utility expenses. So what we used to do is, we'd use the Section 8 utility rates and sort of figure out what we thought that would look like, and then deducted that from the percentage. So we would say things like, we'll shoot for people that that can't spend more than 26 or 27% of their income on housing. So, and then it could be less, but it couldn't be more. If we get to 50%, that's really considered cost burden, and you have a lot more foreclosure in that bracket. So, always leave yourself an out for special circumstances, but I would not recommend that you go beyond the 30% because we don't want foreclosures in the development area.
Okay, so then sort of leaving open all housing types, and is there an interest in having people own, like sort of condominium association where you just own the
Yeah, probably.
habitable house or not the land? Okay, so maybe not as
I
much.
think all of those are opportunities
Okay,
that will be until we get to more detail, we're not going to know what's really there.
And RDC members can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was a focus on making sure that there's single family housing. And that would be maybe even to the point where it's the primary type of housing in the area.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we did also discuss like basically, Jackie, starting, closer to 46 with more dense housing types, like maybe multifamily or condo, maybe patio homes. And then as we move farther into the property to do single family development, is sort of my recollection of what we discussed, because we have significantly lack of housing in our missing middle types.
I agree with you, Lisa. Thank you.
Yeah, I do too. I thought we were going to aim for a mix.
Yeah.
okay. And then what would be some of the priorities? I tried to look up the residential TIF, what it encompasses, and it sounds like there's a little bit of flexibility on what that TIF money can cover. Is there an understanding of what the money would go towards, or just sort of create the district or the area and then figure out the rest?
I think we can do land, we can do infrastructure.
Well, an infrastructure would include roads, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sewer, water. Right.
Yeah.
Sewer, water.
Stormwater.
Oh,
You could
stormwater.
even maybe do broadband with it.
It could be gas, any of the
Yeah.
standard infrastructure pieces,
Okay, broadband,
high-speed internet, all that stuff.
great.
You like
Okay.
joint trench is more cost efficient for everybody.
Yeah,
And,
Richard,
yeah,
Richard, let's make sure when we talk infrastructure that we include broadband also, because it's not, isn't defined that way right now, but we need to make sure that'll be very important.
Right.
Okay,
And just so you, we're working with the landowner on a variety of infrastructure projects. It's most of this, at least how we've envisioned it in the past, and this is kind of trying to scope how much should we expand beyond what we looked at in the past, would incorporate using the current TIF district, and that's all held by one owner. And so I wouldn't necessarily include in this at least my thought process is that I don't think we really want to buy land.
Okay.
I think we have a developer who will work with us in making sure the land's available for that purpose. And we'll have an economic incentive to make sure it gets developed.
Okay, and just to
Well,
be clear, is
that's
it,
only true for this. If we start adding parcels to the north,
yeah.
that may change.
Yes,
Okay. So you're
Right.
saying this we wouldn't have to, maybe we could work with someone and
Right.
less cost on the land, but then up here, this would be different.
Right.
I just went around and started highlighting bigger parcels. Am I missing anything on areas that you guys were talking about or thinking about to be included in the TIF on this side?
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell,
Right.
looking at it, but I think you know this property better than we do, where it would be feasible or appropriate.
There is, we are gonna, I guess, what are our requirements about continuity with existing?
TIF, oh, I see what you mean. Yeah,
The current TIF runs all the way along 37, I think. Or, yeah, along the interstate.
yeah,
yeah, I think you will be contiguous
There,
to that.
right, because we run all the way along the highway there, all the way down.
oh, but I didn't include, so technically North Park is also
Yes,
over here, so you could technically make this contiguous if all
Right.
North Park was
Yeah.
in there, so you're, okay.
Yeah.
See
Well,
what
and
I
I
mean?
think the TIF the current TIF, I think includes,
it doesn't include the quarry.
it doesn't include the quarry, but I think it includes
Includes
there.
that, yes, it does.
Yeah,
Westbury.
okay. All right,
Well, how are we limited by the two different townships? If I recollect, there's one township we can't do it and one we can. Is that right? I think
And
one-
I think the areas she has highlighted on this map, at least, are all in Bloomington Township.
No.
Okay.
No, the part over there. No, over to the left, that parcel, I don't think the line's there. I think it's one over.
You think it's here?
Yeah, I think it's there. Isn't
Yeah,
that the
that's
town-
right. I'm looking at my map right now.
That's the township line right there.
Yeah.
okay, this is.
That would not be eligible.
Okay, so take this out, but include the
Yeah,
rest of
it would
it.
stay in the current TIF.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I looked at all of this, so we can go through this, but are there any questions about this area before I move forward then? Must be in the TIF, or it must be in Bloomington Township, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Bloomington Township.
So the zoning out here is quite a bit. So we have, this kind of bluish color is RS 3.5. So right now it's zoned for single family residential at 0.22, minimum lot
Right.
size. So that's like 5 units to the acre. RS2 is a little bit more than 2 units to the acre. And then the big parcel you're probably looking at is 1 acre minimums. So it's fairly large parcel sizes
Right.
required right now. And then this fir PUD is expired. So that's kind of prime for rezoning because it doesn't really have a zoning district right now as it stands. And then, of course, North Park area down there at the
Right.
bottom. And Corey, so. All right. So, looking at the existing water and sewer lines, the water pipes are in black and the sewer is in green. So you have a bit more infrastructure down near the North Park area. There's also a packaging plant to connect to, but that's really for use by North Park. So once you get up in this area, a little less in the way of existing infrastructure, but still potentially could be expanded.
So the part that's in North Park is South Central Regional.
Right, sewer.
Which is up along the highway is City of Bloomington.
Right, I think you're right.
We will extend the that sewer line down Hunter Valley Road when we do that improvement.
Mhm.
That'll be part of that roadway project.
Right,
But they won't, the two systems will not connect.
connect, right.
And we would have to really twist the arm of the city to get them to expand their,
Do you know if this is in their area A or area B service?
I don't think it's in
No,
any
no,
of those.
that was never in any of the areas
Okay.
annexed.
Right.
Well, area, sorry, there's two different things. I didn't mean the annexation map. They have a sewer jurisdiction map, area A and area B.
Right. And I don't think it's included in any of those.
Okay.
So we should figure out who has jurisdiction.
Right,
Yes, because it may not be South Central Region.
right.
Maybe jurisdiction or-
It might be one of the Ellisville,
Yeah,
small companies that are associated with Ellisville.
yeah. Okay. So questions on sewer capacity up in here?
I guess, but maybe before we move on, I guess, since it's zoned for housing, do you think that looking at it for residential TIF, it meets that kind of first checkbox? Is this an appropriate place for housing to begin with? I guess
Yeah,
that should be probably the linchpin before we,
yeah. The areas that are not colored in here are classified as single-family residential. And then purple is vacant of the areas we're looking at, farmland, two dwelling. So mostly, yeah, you do have single-family residential is primarily around it.
Right.
So in that way, yes, I mean, I think the idea of phasing more dense development, maybe, and then phasing back into single-family residential as a buffer to the
Right.
existing residents would be good. But, yeah, there's not much in the way of, there's some commercial, but not, this is like bigger apartments over here, so
Right.
I think you're in an area where there's definitely residential.
Right.
This is a slope layer map. So just showing some of the areas that are over 15% slope. Where my mouse is, there's another map that I'll show that this is floodway. So pretty
Right.
restrictive in terms of development or connectivity would be more costly, more challenging through this area. But for the most part, this parcel is sort of out of it.
Now, isn't there already into that Fur property, isn't there access to it from both
Mhm.
Acuff Road and through the
Yeah, it's-
commercial down below,
Yeah, Maple Grove is here.
Right.
And Acuff.
right? And then there's, I think there was an approved extension from the, whatever that used to be down there. Now the auction place or the used whatever place.
Roseberry Village.
Yeah, that goes north from there, because I believe I was sitting on a commission then when we did that.
Yeah, it does. I think they're able to, I'll have to pull that. I think it's cul-de-sac and then, yeah, you're right.
I think it
It's
was,
a major road,
yeah, I think it is.
but I think is it an easement or is it right of way?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. I have a feeling it might be an easement, but I can double
Yeah.
check that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there is possibility.
So
of
what about our
connectivity.
connectivity in other places up there?
Yeah, so.
We'll build the connectivity in the North Park stuff. So we've
Yeah.
got this,
Yeah, so Maple Grove comes through here, you have Acuff and then Arlington.
right?
As far as the other opportunities for connectivity, this is Trenton. I can't remember what the Overlook, Trenton Overlook, I think this can
Okay.
connect, this stubs into this parcel.
Which looks like it connects to the east as well.
Yeah,
So
this is Maple Grove Road, and
Right.
you could line it up here. I have a really rough drawing of some of the, I'm just sort of drawing it out. This is for North Park, we talked about
Right.
just sort of priority roads. I can
Yeah.
come back to this when we get to North Park, but I just started
Right,
looking at maybe possibilities for connections, but these these are built out, these are residential homes in here. So I don't want to give the impression that everything is vacant in here. It's just an idea if you wanted to connect in through here, that there could be opportunities at some of these intersections. I pulled one of the plats for Trenton Overlook and the lot to the north that we were looking at. This is a huge utility easement, as shown on the GIS. So I think there is probably already a natural buffering, but there is a possibility for connection here because the right of way ends right at the property line.
Right. So it looks like
But
under the
these
south,
are just
too.
really rough drawings of ideas, and this could certainly be changed based on environmental constraints and
Right.
whatever else priority, but and I didn't see anything in the thoroughfare plan. I don't know if Lisa knows off the top of her head of anything that was prioritized to connect. There's just a lot of cul-de-sacs through here and not a lot of like connections, I think,
Right.
especially in this area.
Yeah, I don't think there's been anything in there.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, most of that is pre-planning anyway.
Yeah. I think this one was the main connection point that I saw. It looked
Yeah.
like it was clearly meant to connect in. I think this one does have, it shows a little bit of right of way to get to this parcel here, but it doesn't, the road doesn't go all the way up to that point. So there's always that, discussion point with neighbors to say like, was this ever meant to connect through? And it's a little bit more obvious when it actually
Right.
stubs to the property line.
Yeah.
To mean that it can't, but, yeah, and then I think I have I show a drainage map on here, yeah, the hydrology, so
Right.
ACUF, sort of limited in terms of the floodplain down through here, but certainly something you can prioritize connecting in a different location and maybe,
Right.
connecting elsewhere, but.
Now, when they cut off Acuff to 37, there was a bridge across the stream there.
Right,
Is
yes.
what's happened to that bridge? Is it closed as well?
Bridge is still there.
Bridge is
I don't
still
think,
there.
Yeah, we still have a bridge on the Acre Road on the west side.
Okay.
Is it in pretty good shape?
Yeah, there's no, and the only access, I think, is just to one part entrance. So
Yeah,
we can't vacate the road because we have a bridge on it.
right.
I got you. Okay. And then these are just some acreages of these parcels to give you an idea of the size. So
Yeah.
25 is 131. These two combined are 40.
Right.
And then I can sort of walk through North Park next if you guys want to keep going.
Actually, at the end of this, I'd like Jared to get kind of this map so that he can give me a list of, for the outside the current TIF district, list of owners and acreages and parcel sizes.
Right.
Yeah, I think I still have it selected on my computer, so I can send it to you, Jared.
well,
Yeah,
is there a tentative plan to go from Acuff over to Arlington or somewhere else? Or is that just a thought?
Yeah, I think it's.
It was shown earlier on.
Yeah, I think that could be a thought to connect.
I don't know I don't know the topography that it's worth trying to think about it or not, because that's pretty bad over there.
Pretty flat.
Yeah, that's probably okay.
Well, the top is, but that, and because I've ridden that property when my father-in-law cut hay, that's hillside. So downward
Right.
adjustment in the red, yeah, you've got a really fairly steep slope.
Okay.
Because when you come up that hill, you see the Cook building and just rise like it's coming
Wow.
out of the gas. It's a ways down there, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Maybe that could be, yeah, okay,
Certain there's a way to do it,
yeah.
Oh,
Potentially,
or we'll make a way to do it.
Right.
yeah,
That looks better.
yeah. So. Okay, so yeah, North Park, I've presented this to the Affordable Housing Commission in the past. I'm sorry, these are overlaid. I can find the original one, but North Park has quite a bit of residential areas that are permitted. And they actually have areas that are zoned for multifamily already in this area. So if you're, I didn't know if the area you were looking at, well, we said this can't be included, but I guess this area
Right.
north of the Stone Branch, is that, or is it all open for discussion? Is there portions of North Park that are more interesting than others?
I think all of it would probably be open for discussion.
Okay,
I think we've talked with Mr. Kreider, and he has indicated a
Right.
willingness to redo some of the zoning here,
okay.
which
Did
is
you
all part of it.
find out anything about whether commercial was included in a residential TIF, whether commercial valuation is included?
I'll double check that. But I think it has to be kind of a de minimis ancillary use, but I'll double check that. I got that answer, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Because where that A is, right there and below, that is very definitely commercial space.
Mhm.
And I doubt he's gonna give it up because it is such high value commercial space.
Sure.
Question is whether or not we would leave that in the current TIF or put it into a new TIF. And
Right.
it would meet any de minimis. Because in terms of value, over time, it will have a value that will probably exceed the value of the residential property.
So outlined on the screen here, the black dotted lines is single family residential, 5 dwellings to the acre, 165 units maximum here. The burgundy color is single family residential, 1.5 dwelling units to the acre, 30 max units here. It's pretty small. And then the white area is multifamily, 15 dwelling units to the acre, 270 max units. So you have single family here, multifamily, and then the A areas are multifamily, 5 dwelling units to the acre. But, you know, for defining multifamily, you could have a combination of single family structures on one lot, and together it being one lot constitutes it as multifamily.
Right.
But I'd have to double check the North Park ordinance because they have a lot of
I
architectural.
don't recall that, I think what we did was set a maximum density, but it wasn't a minimum density.
Right,
So you could actually have single family lots on all
yeah, if you didn't
of them.
subdivide.
You didn't subdivide.
Mhm. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So this is the areas that are permitted for residential in North Park.
Which is quite a bit.
Yeah.
Let's see, that's 30, 200, 460. Yeah, it's close to 500 units. Yeah, that's kind of what I remember.
Yeah, and I think in conversations, there could be room for amendments to this area. If there was more residential. And we had talked about connections here. So
Right.
this is a, oh gosh, Testament. Is this Stouts Creek? Once again, Lisa.
Yeah.
Testing here.
South-
And then,
yeah, something-
this- okay, and then connecting
Right.
up to 46
Right.
here and then potentially up here. But this is the township line, so I guess, you know, this project would have to be separate. So we'd be talking about this
Well, we
line over.
I think you could easily make the argument that that's
Okay.
serving the area.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And this is already underway, so that's number 1 priority. Number 2 priority was
Right.
this connection, 3 down here,
Yeah.
4 over here, so this hits at some of the priorities for the North Park area.
I think 3 has been superseded by an EMS building.
Yeah, that's here. They actually are gonna build that, I'm told. Okay,
So if we add the area up above,
up above here,
yeah, up in there, to
Yeah.
what we've already got allocated in the North Park,
yeah,
we're looking at potentially 1,000 units up in that area.
131 acres, I mean, you could, it depends on, you know, what the lot, the housing type is. It's sort of what I'm
And how
wondering
much
if
of it's
you
actually
wanted like an
usable.
apartment buildings there, or if you're thinking it's gonna be,
Right.
lower level or low density.
Right,
So, yeah. I think that's not an
okay.
unrealistic number. 500 from North Park and then
Another
potentially,
500 up in that area.
yeah.
So the next thing is, if we actually go forward with this and do a, what, a 25-year TIF?
Mhm.
How much, realistically, how much development could we expect up there to pay for whatever infrastructure we're gonna provide? We've got a ballpark on the road down in North Park.
Yeah.
But we don't have any ballparks for any of the other stuff. But we're talking probably $20 million of stuff by the time we're done. That seems in the ballpark,
I can hear you.
about $20 million worth of roads that we talked about now.
I never did it.
Yeah, I would think so.
That's 19 prices, right?
Huh?
20 million and 19 prices.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we don't know what the prices are gonna be 20, 15 years from now.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I want Jared to get us a property owner list for the ones up north. Just to kind of see, I think I could make the case that if it's going to take a lot of time to get all that organized up on the northern portion, that we should maybe even consider two different districts,
Yeah.
so that you don't start the clock for the ones that you're further away from moving forward
Right.
with.
Yeah, I like that idea. The North Park stuff looks like
It's ready to go.
stuff that's ready to go. We could do it in 2 phases this way.
Yeah, North Park is already zoned for development, whereas the other ones would have to be rezoned.
Right.
And if we could put it 500 houses out there, that'd be super. And it's right on 46 and right accessible to 69.
Yeah.
Shoot, people who work at Crane could easily live there.
Yeah, what we need to do is to find some developer who's interested in doing part of it, getting involved in it, even if they do a 10-year build out. We would know there would be something coming in.
Right.
But if we start this clock without somebody committing to doing some building, we start from zero and we don't have any income.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say some of this areas, but like this was
That's
not mapped really, so this probably is not buildable down here.
And I think
Is the part up by the road buildable?
Yeah, I mean, the
That's the
floodplain
question. I
comes
mean, we're gonna
in.
put money into there
Yeah,
and we own the property. That's the difference.
the county,
you mean up here?
Yes, we own that property.
I know, yeah,
I think
maybe
I
part of it,
think this, from here down,
no,
Is not,
and especially on this parcel, because
right,
once you get past this point going east,
yeah.
it is got environmental restrictions that you can't mess with,
Yeah.
drainage.
Right.
So,
But the northern part of that we own,
just right here.
yeah, could have some higher density put into it
Mhm.
to start generating some income.
Yeah.
And that's not too big a project for somebody even local to pick up. I mean, look what they're doing down across from the Cloverleaf down there, next to the highway. That's got, how many 100 units did they put in there? A lot.
Yeah,
You're talking about Trinitas's,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
well, yeah, they're obviously wanting to take on stuff much bigger than that. They're doing the old Kmart site and that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks like it's on building.
They're actually doing, 40, I think it's 40 single-family lots that they gave to the city that they just did an RFI on.
Right. That was part of the project down there at the Cloverleaf.
Well, Well, one of the other, I mean, we'd have to find somebody who's ready to do the project. But that would be, that's the right size initial project, I think, to get something going.
And I'm not 100% clear on, so would the areas that you're including in the residential TIF just be inclusive of the areas that you're going to develop as a residential TIF, or can it be a little bit wider in scope?
I think it could be wider in scope.
Okay,
And what we need to do is to make sure that we don't jeopardize the residential TIF with too much commercial, probably. But we
Well,
want to eliminate commercial as a viable source of revenue, at least initially.
this is gonna be sort of a TIF that is, I don't think they can overlap, but won't it be surrounded by the traditional TIF that's already there?
Yeah,
So we're gonna probably wanna keep this pretty succinct to what we think will
It's
really
not
develop.
it's not gonna overlap. We're gonna take part of the TIF, the existing TIF, and break it off
Right,
so that this
you're
will be
gonna
a
amend the
new.
existing
TIF.
TIF and then do a new TIF in the
Right, so that
process.
the existing TIF, which is below 46
Yeah.
and in Richland Township,
Mhm.
will stay in the current TIF.
Yes. Okay,
yeah.
And it expires 10 years from now or whatever. This would be a new one with a new 25-year basis.
okay.
So that's what we did with Cook.
Right, similar to that.
I would just point out that the properties along the current Hunter Valley that the county has purchased. I wouldn't want to commit that until we had road design or something like that. And
Oh, yeah.
depending on where that road goes, you got kind of a pretty narrow stretch, because once you get pretty far in, even before that quarry, once you get in there, it's pretty rugged.
Yeah, not bad.
We walked it, it was pretty bad.
Well, the rock in there.
Yeah.
Jeff and walked it.
Yeah, so it.
But up here, yeah, you're totally right. I mean,
I thought-
this area is not restricted, I don't think.
No.
You know, and this is still, gosh, this was the Yates family, right?
Yeah,
And then Don Francis,
Yeah.
PP's in
Right,
here, so this isn't all North Park.
yeah, the
But-
constraint on the road, as far as I know, that the building there isn't the,
I think that's,
I think that's a constraint on the, Lisa, I can get you a moment. The building that's up there by the road, is that our constraint in terms of where we can position the roadway? Or
Oh,
do
you
we
mean
have
in
to
there.
think about buying part of the quarry land that's
Yeah.
here?
Well, yeah, we're gonna have to buy something, because both of these go to the center line.
Well, see, if it all goes south, we own everything south except that one piece.
Yeah,
But we may have to buy some north because that building is so close to the road.
yeah. Who owns the north side? This is Debbie, I think this is Reed.
Totally,
Or
yeah.
is this one? But I think Debbie's also involved in that. She's been very supportive. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in this area here, and maybe under the TIF, this is a pretty rough drawing of it. It probably is, encompassing all of this area.
Well, I
here.
think there was some commercial planned along the highway.
Mhm. Yeah,
I still thought that had hotels involved in what. could
Oh,
be
yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Well, that's before part of that we can't deal with because of the restrictions, but part of it is not under the restrictions.
Well, if you scroll out, the property lines where the restrictions at.
okay.
But it's only the property line for this chunk over here.
The environmental restrictions are only on the property south of this.
Show us.
So
Not there.
basically this line,
No, that's not correct.
the environmental restrictions are only on that parcel.
No, they're on the parcel that the EPA
Yeah.
has down there.
It's this one.
That's
Right.
That one. That's where the restriction.
No, there is restrictive covenants on all of
There,
that,
yeah,
Right.
because of that.
Who put
But
those
this
on?
is
the EPA.
EPA, but this is.
It's got to do with
this is
drainage to
the-
and the restriction, it has to do with drainage to the core.
To the quarry, okay. Yes, I recall something about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of subdivision here, but this is about 5 acres, by the way.
Yeah. that's a
Which?
decent size.
Which is 5 acres?
Let me make sure you guys can see my screen, sorry. Right here, here's,
Okay.
which is,
I guess me getting up and pointing at it probably isn't helpful. for you.
Yeah, the old owl had trouble following you around,
okay,
although these are amazing little devices.
yeah. Is there any other questions or things that you want to discuss?
And one of the other things is that included in the parcels up north that are not in the TIF, there's that one parcel off of Hunter Valley, which is not in the TIF that needs to get included. If you move your cursor to the left, up,
Yeah, that one.
that parcel is not in the TIF as far as we know,
Oh, okay,
for some reason.
okay.
And so it would have to be considered part of the other thing. Now, I think there's still some research needs to be done to make sure that's true, but I don't
Yeah.
think it's in the TIF. There was a proposal to do a student apartment complex in there.
Mhm.
That proposal would contain the information about whether that's in the TIF or not.
Okay.
Because that was all researched at that point in time.
It was a while ago.
Yeah. Well, and it essentially died because the neighbors up north didn't want it, and Hunter Valley Road was not
Right.
there. So,
Yeah.
The neighbors didn't want them going north to get onto Arlington, and I don't blame them.
You got it.
Cool, yeah, right there. So there is, we got potential up in there.
So we want-
That's the county line, right? Or township line.
That's the power line.
This is power line, I think, for like
Oh.
mowed grass lawn. I think this is the power line that cuts through,
Yeah,
so this is part of the property. You're looking at.
that was one of the
Yeah,
things about
and then
the,
these are kind of built out with residential
right,
homes, so if you wanted connectivity.
you'd have
down,
to
you
skirt
have
down
some-
somehow, or,
Yeah, so, just let me give you that.
okay,
Look. So I can send Jared the parcels that we looked at today, and he can identify those in relation to the TIF. And then if there's, I can share my PowerPoint. I don't know if there's anything
Okay.
else. You're on I think it's a good start.
Yeah,
As far as the parcel information, you're wanting owner names, are there any other things that you're wanting to make sure?
I think for the ones in the north, I'd want owner names, size. I think are the
You
two,
want the tax classification and the property class? How it's used.
that would be nice, particularly if it's not just a number, it's what the number means,
yeah.
right? And looking at it as a 3-digit number is, I did not find particularly helpful.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jackie, you're going to send us a copy of your charts, of your PowerPoint?
Yep, I can send a copy of this to I'll send it to Jeff and then Jeff
Yep.
can send it out.
All right, good, good, thank you.
Okay.
All right, well, we did, I think, make some progress.
Okay.
Well, thanks, everyone. Is there
No,
anything else you
Thank you
want to
for
add?
putting that
to this?
together.
Happy
Yeah, thank you,
Friday.
Jeffy.
Enjoy your weekend, everybody.
I
Thanks, you
saw
too.
Steve Kreider over this
Okay.
week, so I sent him a link
Thanks, everyone.
to this meeting.